To get a STEM job these days, especially at a Fortune 500 company, it requires multiple rounds of interviews. And among these interviews is the notorious behavioral interview. Now, the behavioral interview is notorious because among a lot of technical experts, it's often the most difficult simply because there's no correct answer. So in this video, I'm going to teach you the #1 storytelling framework when it comes to behavioral interviews. And don't worry, if you've never heard of the STAR method, I'm going to make it so clear that you're going to be able to implement it in your next interview. So if you have an internship interview coming up or an entry-level position interview, then I suggest you watch this video so that you can ace that interview instead of winging it like you always have. Now, I'm going to be honest, I got pretty lucky with my interviews. There was a lot of trial and error. I'd go into the interview, no structure to answer my questions, and I did so many interviews that I just managed to develop a structure for myself. And it wasn't until I joined the company that I found out that there's a way to structure your answers for behavioral interviews. And this is called the STAR method. Now, this is nothing new, it's been around for a while, but I guess it's not as widely taught. Maybe it's too basic, but I think it's a great way to start winging that behavioral interview. So what does STAR stand for? STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. The idea behind STAR is the way a person behaved in a comparable situation in the past is the best indicator for how they're going to perform in the future. So that's the idea. And apart from the idea, this actually provides a great storytelling structure on your behavioral interview questions. And this is beneficial for both the interviewer and the interviewee. Why it's beneficial for the interviewer? Because the interviewer knows exactly what to expect in terms of how the answer should be structured. And it's beneficial for the interviewee because they know how to structure their response. Now, I can tell you that, yeah, you use situation, you just talk about a time that's relevant, and then your task is you just talk about what you did and la-di-da-di-da. But this is often very difficult on the spot because unlike a technical question, there's no workflow or procedure to get to a correct answer. You just have to do your best storytelling. So I thought the best way to go about this is simply by asking Chat GPT on how to answer a STAR question, and I'm going to criticize their answer. So let's jump into it. Okay, so in this example, I've chosen the question, tell me about a time you had to handle a difficult customer. And so here's the STAR response that ChatGPT has given me. So you can see they started with a situation. As a software engineer on a B2B SaaS product, I was pulled into a call with a major client who was angry because a recent update broke part of their custom workflow. This is great. Very simple, short, that's all a situation needs to do. My tip for answering the situation, if you can't come up with something immediately, think about what's on your resume. You should have written that. You should be familiar with what's on it. Pull something from your resume because 1, it's something that already exists, and 2, the interview panel can follow along. Something that you should know is that during an interview, majority of the time, the panel will have your resume up. Even if it's virtual, they'll probably have it up on the screen. So if you pull a situation from your resume, they're going to be able to follow along very easily and see things that you didn't necessarily talk about. So an answer might be, instead of as a software engineer on a B2B SaaS product, you could be a lot more specific and say, as you can see on my resume, in 2022, I was a software engineer at this B2B SaaS product working as an intern. You can start like that and talk about your situation. Now your task should only be 1 sentence. You only want to talk about 1 specific task. So in this task, we can see I needed to understand the customer's problem, de-escalate the situation, and deliver a fix that restored their workflow without introducing new bugs. I think this is good. If you want to be a little bit better, you can talk about the specific problem. So you can say, I needed to understand why this broke their custom workflow. De-escalate the situation and deliver a fix without compromising the performance of their workflow. This stuff takes practice, guys. And your action is actually the easiest thing because your action should be in chronological order from where you started to where you finished. Now, one tip for action I have is that you should include as many technical skills or workflows you used as possible. Let's see what ChatGPT said. I started by listening to the customer explain how the bug affected their operations. I acknowledged the impact and clarified the exact scenario causing the failure. I reproduced the same issue locally, traced it to a validation change that didn't account for an edge case unique to their setup. blah, 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 blah. I mean, you can see that it's going in chronological order. Obviously, this is Chat GPT and it's not being specific, but you can definitely start, I'm actually not a software engineer, so I don't even know if my terminology is correct, but you can start by saying, especially in this line, I reproduced the issue locally and created my own Git branch and made sure that I was keeping up to date with main to ensure my customer was going to have the latest updates with a bug fix. So you may be thinking, well, as a software engineer, you should know how to use Git, which I guess maybe I didn't use the best example, but by saying this, you're showing that you know how to use Git and you know how to use established workflows. And then result. The fix was deployed within 24 hours and the customer's workflow was fully restored. They later told our customer success team they appreciated the transparency and responsiveness. So when it comes to result, you need to remember two things. So you need to pick a qualitative metric and a quantitative metric. And you can honestly write these down. The things that I like to think about is like efficiency improvement and then just about how you felt. So an example might be, for this example, you can say, I deployed a fix within 24 hours. That's your quantitative result. And I was very confident that the customer was going to be pleased with the result. Qualitative, that's how you feel. They later told our customer success team they appreciated the transparency. So that's their qualitative. Internally we added, so they didn't add their quantitative result. Maybe they didn't get it, but you can always talk about by ensuring that the fix was deployed in 24 hours instead of 48 hours, I ensure that the customer only lost X amount of dollars instead of Y amount of dollars. So that's all I had on this video about how to stop winging your behavioral interview. So practice the STAR method, jot down some examples, and go ace that next interview. Thanks for watching.